Cannabis is a plant that we've had a relationship with as humans for over 5,000 years. In fact, there's documented evidence in China that cannabis or extracts of cannabis were used for things like pain. But yet, we don't have that much research on cannabis. In fact, the two most researched cannabinoids are THC and CBD, and it drops off significantly after that. Cannabis in many parts of the world, including the United States, is still illegal. In the United States, it's a Schedule I drug, and there's been referendums to legalize cannabis at a federal level for several years, in fact, going back to the 1970s. Now, this hasn't happened yet, but state by state, there are increasingly amounts of legal cannabis users. We only started to identify individual cannabinoids in the early 20th century. Things like CBN became very apparent. THC was towards the middle of the 20th century. Then we started to discover receptors in our body. And the receptors led to the question, if there is receptors in our body, well, maybe there are endogenous cannabinoids, and maybe we actually do have a reason for receptors in our body. So let's go into those receptors, shall we? So when we think of the receptors in the endocannabinoid system, the two that are mainly discussed are CB1 and CB2. They're encoded by the genes CNR1 and CNR2. And so when we look at CB1, they're typically found in the peripheral and central nervous system, as well as some tissues. Now, the activation of CB1 receptors by either cannabinoids or other methods is really believed to play a role in both cognitive performance, or cognition if you will, and pain. CB2 receptors are typically found within the immune system. And if you activate CB2 receptors, what you actually see is it leads to a downregulation of items like inflammation. Can cannabis impact and improve performance? Well, sometimes a question needs to be answered with a question. And so, does inflammation impact performance? You can see here on this page that there is this study here about cytokine storms and really inflammation impacting physical performance. You know, we've all felt delayed onset muscle soreness if you've exercised too hard. And this inflammation can get in the way. It can eventually cascade into things like pain.